guys. So I don't know if you can see right down there under the ladder is a little bitty hen. See her down there walking around. So it has been a work day today here on the homestead. We well, among the things that we were working on today was this run. This is the original run area that's attached to our original coop right there, the white one, that we use as our grow out coop now. She's going back up the ladder. So that was the first brave girl. That right there was one of our Icelandic chicks that we hatched out. You may remember, it's been a little bit since I had put some eggs, Icelandic chicken eggs, in my incubator. We had started off with, I think it was like 11 eggs, and we ended up getting 6 chicks out of that. One of them really struggled, wasn't sure if it was going to make it, but it did. It is a runt compared to all the rest of the young chickens, but it did make it. It is thriving. So I had commented at one point, you know, it would be really awful if we went through all this work of raising these chicks, hatching them out and all of that, only to end up with all roosters. Because when you are starting with eggs, you never know what you're going to get. And there's lots of like old wives' tales and, you know, myths out there as far as what you can do to determine whether it's a male or female egg. But I've never actually seen any of them pan out to anything. So here's the rundown. There was one chick, the very first one that hatched out, and right off the bat we kind of thought that that one was a rooster. It was a rooster, and of course that is one of the prettiest ones of the little flock. It's a little silver rooster. Well, little, but he's the biggest one of them. And then the itty bitty one, the runt, that one also appears to be a rooster, because those two are the only ones with prominent combs and wattles. All of the other 4, including the one that just came out a moment ago, is a hen. So we kind of looked out. The odds were in our favor, and we ended up with 4 of the 6, 2/3 of them appear that they are hens. You know, it's kind of hard with Icelandics at first, because they do have a very pointy tail, both the males and the females. So it's kind of hard at first to determine which is which, but that big one, the silver one, right off the bat was very alert and very watchful, and that's usually one of the first signs that a chick is a rooster, when they're the first one to run over to see what's going on. So today we worked on this run. We cleared off all of the stuff that had grown all around it. It was just a jungle over here. I still got some grass down in there that I kind of need to cut down, but that's really the only thing in here. So we cut off all the stuff that was growing on the fence. We reinforced the fencing down along the bottom where these kind of weed trees had grown up and pushed the landscaping timbers out and had it all disarrayed. We re-zip tied the fencing sections together, because the zip ties that had been holding them together had dry rotted in the sun. Even though they say they're UV resistant, they don't last forever. They do have to be replaced from time to time. So we did that. And then the top. So when I built this run 5 years ago now, I had just put bird netting over the top to protect the young chickens from hawks. And it worked well enough, but it was constantly tearing, constantly falling down, and it was just a nightmare to try and get in there to open the door because the netting was only the height of the fencing, which is right here. So what we did is we took some 2x4s and went across the tops of the posts, as you can see right there, and then we put chicken wire over the top. Now, granted, there is a space right here. We just didn't get it all done today. So tomorrow I've got some 2-foot chicken wire. It's kind of the large hex sized. We're not worried about keeping birds out per se. It's just the hawks that we want to keep out. So we'll come back tomorrow and we'll run that 2-wire fencing between the chicken wire roofing and the top of the fence right here. So we'll do that tomorrow. In the meantime, I think they'll be fine for a few hours because that one little hen that came out is the only one who's come out so far. They haven't quite figured it out. So at some point they'll figure it out and they'll all come out. And then they'll have plenty of room to run around and do all the things that they want to do. So these guys right back there behind me, and if you hear a clicking sound, it's because that fence right there behind me is on. It's an electric poultry fence. And we've had a lot of rain and there's a lot of grass, so it's kind of clicking. But those guys right there, that is my original Icelandic chicken flock. And because we ended up with just the 2 roosters in the new group, we are going to try and keep them. I may not necessarily put them in here with this group because Yosemite Sam over there is the boss of this group, and bringing in another rooster without introducing them slowly may not go so well because he'll look at another rooster as an invader. However, the hens, the young hens, we will be able to kind of move into this flock so that we'll have a larger Icelandic flock. And then the 2 other roosters, the Icelandics, we will just keep with the big flock, my barnyard mix that I have. So as long as those 2 young Icelandics behave themselves and don't become a problem, we are going to try and keep them, because I do want to have, I'd like to have an extra Icelandic rooster, particularly that big silver one, because he's a full-size rooster and he's beautiful. Because the other rooster is of course a runt. I mean, it's puny. It's like half the size of the hens, let alone the rooster. Yeah, so that way if something were to ever happen to old Yosemite over there, I would have a backup rooster for this flock. So I'm not sure if I ever actually shared why it was I wanted to get the Icelandic chickens. When I originally ordered my eggs, it was like a year ago, I think, somewhere around that. You know, I ordered the eggs in the mail. They came from a farm in Wisconsin, and I incubated them and started the original flock. And then we took some of the Icelandic eggs, incubated those to add to the flock. I don't know if I ever actually shared why specifically I wanted to get the Icelandic chickens. So there's a couple reasons that I wanted to get Icelandics and why I keep them separate from all of the rest of the chickens. First of all, I keep them separate to protect the breed, the breed of the chickens. Some people kind of jokingly call them Viking chickens. So they are a type of chicken. They came from Iceland, and they're actually not considered a breed. They're called a landrace. The reason I wanted to get them, number one, is they are very rare. there's not a lot of them left. The land race actually almost went extinct a while back, and there's kind of been a movement or an attempt to bring back the breed. So that's the first reason I'm keeping them separate. Because they are so rare, I don't want them just crossing with you know, my barnyard mix and hindering that. So I am trying to protect it. Now, of course, my young roosters will stay with the rest of the flock. I'm not too worried about that. I don't generally, I don't usually incubate those eggs. Now I will if I need to, but that's not something I worry about too much. So I don't worry about them crossing with the barnyard mixed hens. But besides the fact that they're very rare, they come in all sorts of colors and designs, feather patterns and all of that, because they don't have a standard for them. They're all different colored. Some have the tufts on their head, some don't. Some have yellow legs, some have the gray legs. You know, it's just all different kinds and colors. But the other reason that I wanted to get Icelandic chickens, and the reason I was kind of drawn to them and why I sought out the breed, was because of their hardiness. So I'm a little bit of a prepper. I'm not the kind of prepper who could, you know, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have the ability to live out of my pantry for a year if, you know, if it hits the fan. I'm not, you know, realistically. Now, I do try to be prepared for emergencies. If a big storm comes through and knocks out the power, and, you know, we can't go to the grocery stores and trucks can't get in and bring supplies and things like that, I like having a full pantry of canned, home preserved foods that would tide us over in an emergency. If there's a pandemic and you're quarantined in your house for a month and you can't go to the grocery store, I like having a little bit of food set aside for stuff like that. So I do try to prepare for reasonable emergencies, but I'm not a prepper in the sense that if, you know, we have some kind of societal collapse, that I can sustain myself forever. That's just not realistic. But I do try to be as sustainable as possible and do what I can do. And so one of the things that I can do is have very self-sustaining, self-reliant chickens. And my neighbor's over there mowing, you might hear his tractor. Icelandic chickens are extremely hardy. They are excellent foraging chickens. So much so that in a mild climate like we have here, if there was a situation where I could not go to the feed store and buy feed to feed my chickens, they could be self-sustaining. They would actually be able to forage enough to survive. And that is one of the reasons I got the Icelandics, and why I keep an Icelandic flock, is simply their hardiness and their foraging capabilities. You know, if we were in that kind of a situation, of course I would expand the area that they can forage in to give them much more access to other things. But I know that that would be a sustainable food source, at least their eggs. Now, the rest of the chickens, I don't know that they have the ability to forage as well as the Icelandics would. So those chickens, you know, potentially could end up in the stew pot in sort of a worst case scenario situation. But yeah, so that is why I got the Icelandic chickens. Because you never know, and it's always good to have a backup plan. Alright, you guys, so One last thing before I wrap up this video for today. It's getting late and I've got dinner started over here. So all through the month of September, I am participating in a YouTube collaboration with a whole bunch of great channels, and this is all about soup. So the name of the collaboration is SOUPtember. Every single day there's going to be a new video that is going up by one of the channels. I will put a list down underneath of all of the channels that are participating. The first video is already up, and I think the second one may already be up at the time of me filming this. I will put a link down below. There's also going to be a playlist of all of the videos, so I will find that list and share it with all of you as well. So be sure to check out all of the great channels that are participating. I have 2 recipes that will be going up as part of this collaboration, but you know, with cold weather coming at some point here in northern Alabama, it is definitely going to be soup season. I personally can eat soup all year long. It doesn't have to be cold weather, but you definitely like them even a little more when the weather turns cold. So that is it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me here again at the homestead. If you have any questions about the Icelandic chickens that I didn't touch on today, just leave them in the comments down below and I'll be sure to address them. So that is it. My name is Constance at A Good Life Farm, and I'll talk to you all next time.